For years, a lot of us have asked the same thing about e-bikes. Why can't you just keep pedaling and somehow generate electricity forever? It feels like it should be possible, right? Well, some teams are actually chasing that exact idea, and one of them is Taiyo Yuden, with their Feremo system. Now, it's not infinite energy, but what they're claiming is still kind of wild. Over 621 miles, or 1,000 kilometers, of riding on a single charge. Yeah, you heard that right. More than 621 miles. According to Taiyo Yuden, their Feremo system can stretch a single charge that far, and it all comes down to some smart electronics and a constantly working algorithm that focuses on keeping the battery topped up as much as possible while you ride. When you break it down, Feremo isn't some overly complicated sci-fi setup. It really comes down to three main parts: a highly efficient motor, a strong battery, and a controller that intelligently manages everything happening between the two. Taiyo Yuden doesn't go super deep into the technical specs, but they've released a series of videos that make it pretty clear what's going on behind the scenes. What Feremo really leans into is energy recovery, and not the light, barely noticeable regen you see on most e-bikes today. This is a much more aggressive approach. The system generates power while braking, while coasting, and most importantly, while riding downhill. That downhill part is where Feremo really starts to flex. In those downhill scenarios, the system controls your speed and uses the motor to generate a surprisingly high amount of energy, which then gets fed straight back into the battery. The descent speed can even be adjusted across different levels, which is pretty cool. Taiyo Yuden also markets this as a safety feature, and honestly, that checks out. E-bikes are heavier, they pick up speed fast on descents, and they're not always easy to slow down. Having the motor actively manage speed for you is a pretty nice bonus. Braking is another area where Feremo shines. As soon as the system detects that you're trying to slow down, the motor jumps in to help reduce speed, shortening braking distances while also recovering energy at the same time. It's efficient, it's smart, and it makes a lot of sense. So now comes the big question. How much does something like this cost? Because let's be honest, a system that claims over 600 miles of range sounds like it should be ridiculously expensive. And you'd be forgiven for assuming any e-bike brand working with Taiyo Yuden would slap a huge premium on their bikes. But here's the surprising part. It's not outrageously expensive at all. There are already 3 e-bike brands in Japan that have partnered with Taiyo Yuden to use this tech. And before I tell you the price, drop a comment and let me know what you think something like this should cost. Alright, ready for it? Complete bikes with the Feremo system are selling for roughly 200,000 to 250,000 Japanese yen. In US dollars, that's about $1,300 to $1,600. Yeah, take a second. I'll wait while you wipe the drink off your screen. And remember, those prices are for full bikes, not just the system itself. The Feremo hardware alone would obviously be cheaper. That's huge news for riders everywhere. If this tech spreads, it could seriously kill off range anxiety and open the door to a new generation of adventure bikes, gravel bikes, touring setups, and maybe even mountain bikes, assuming the system can handle that kind of abuse. For adventure and gravel riding especially, it looks like a perfect fit. So how much would you personally pay for something like this? I'd honestly be comfortable dropping up to $1,000 on a system like Feremo, especially if it's built to last. Taiyo Yuden has been around since 1950, and they've worked with everything from capacitors to automotive tech, so they're not exactly new to this game. That gives me a lot of confidence in the long-term reliability. The downside, at least for now, is availability. It looks like you'll need to buy a complete bike to get Feremo, and since these are Japanese manufacturers, you'll probably have to deal with shipping, assuming they even sell in your region. Taiyo Yuden did show off Feremo at CES 2026 though, so it's clearly something they want the world to see. If you're curious, the brands currently selling Feremo-equipped bikes include Chakel, Maruishi Cycle, and Evol bikes. This is the kind of technology that really pushes e-bikes forward, and if this trend continues, we might not be that far away from a future where recharging becomes more of an afterthought than a necessity. Honestly, it feels like we're closer than ever.